The second big story is the digitalization of everything, which is happening. And we're at the beginning innings of rebuilding the infrastructure that American and global business will be done on in the future. And that most likely happens on the Ethereum blockchain.
Are you invested in any of these other digital assets?
Yeah, I think Bitcoin as a store of value is a really safe investment for people. I think Ethereum still has more of a venture flair to it, but it's an investment we like. And then there's a whole space called decentralized finance, or DeFi. This is much more for the experts. But I think in 5 or 10 years, really the revolution is going to happen by taking the blockchain and bringing it to finance. And so we're invested in a lot of wonderful, smaller projects. I would tell our clients generally, mostly Bitcoin, some Ethereum, and then some.
All right. Welcome back, everybody, to Altcoin Daily, where you subscribe for daily videos on everything going on in the cryptocurrency space. We break things down, make it easy to understand. So if you are a cryptocurrency investor, if you are a Bitcoin advocate, if you want to stay in tune with everything going on in the world of cryptocurrency, make sure you watch the whole video. Make sure you stay tuned for the end of the video where Mike Novogratz reveals his thoughts on the perfect cryptocurrency portfolio and talks about which coins he owns. So with that being said, make sure you like the video, support the channel. Let's start with the top story of the day. Michael Saylor, the CEO of Microstrategy, one of the biggest Bitcoin cyber hornets on the planet. He is leading the charge for publicly traded companies to convert their cash to Bitcoin. And publicly traded companies need to disclose all their holdings, including Bitcoin. So we know, and we've seen throughout this year, Microstrategy continues to accumulate Bitcoin. Right now, they have over 40,000 Bitcoins by themselves. That's not even to count his personal stash. That's not even the story, though. The story is this. Microstrategy plans a $400 million raise. Net proceeds will fund more Bitcoin buys. This is the official press release. Microstrategy announces proposed private offering of $400 million of convertible senior notes. What is that? Microstrategy intends to invest the net proceeds from the sale of notes in Bitcoin in accordance with its Treasury Reserve policy. So what does this mean? How is this different from him just buying Bitcoin like he's been doing all year? Well, MicroStrategy stock is about to mimic a leveraged long instrument on Bitcoin. Normally, big players like this have to do this through ETFs, but Bitcoin doesn't have an ETF, and this is going to mimic a 2x long Bitcoin ETF, masterfully played. Well, what does this really mean? Well, some people got ridiculously rich in 2017 just longing Bitcoin with leverage and no stop losses. This trick doesn't work if you're poor, though, unfortunately. So you have to have a lot of money. Michael Saylor has a lot of money, and this is what he intends to do. He is tripling, quadrupling down on his belief that Bitcoin is the future, and we're at the precipice of a huge bull run. People say all the time that big players in assets, always get in low, and by the time you hear about it, they've already been accumulating near the bottom. Guess what? MicroStrategies all this year has been accumulating Bitcoin near the bottom, and because we're so early in this bull market, we can see it happening. Now, before we move on to another interesting story regarding a Wells Fargo report, perhaps the most interesting part of this MicroStrategy announcement is that a certain gentleman called Andy Estrom, he is a hard money enthusiast, big Bitcoiner, big finance guy. He was on the Swan Signals YouTube channel back in September. He predicted that Michael Saylor would do exactly this. So watch this clip, then we'll move on to the Wells Fargo news.
When I look at the business, I say, okay, let's call it 30 to 50 million in cash flow. This business could easily support some debt, right? I don't see any reason why he couldn't go into the high yield bond market, raise a couple $100 million, in bonds, do 8 to 10 year maturity, right? So you're not, facing basically a repayment risk in the next few years, push it out a number of years. I'd be shocked if you can't raise money. That would be a four times leverage roughly. If you're saying cash flow is EBITDA, that's an approximation. But a 4 times levered company could easily service 5% coupon debt. That would be what, 10 million or 200 million at 5%. That'd be $10 million on interest expense. He's got 50 million or 30 to 50 million to play around with. He could come over the top, do a $200 million bond deal potentially, and buy another 200 million of Bitcoin. Right? I mean, this is not impossible. I'm not saying he will do it. What I'm saying is the business could support more debt if it wanted to.
I'm not saying that he will do it. I'm saying that he did do it. So good on you, Mr. Saylor. Good on you. In other news, this is equally a huge deal. Wells Fargo, their institutional investment arm, put out a report just yesterday, just Monday, just at the beginning of the week. Now, this report was picked up by NASDAQ. First mover, Wells Fargo Bitcoin briefing could signal a bull run is intact. And an exact quote from this report, this might shock you. In the report, it said cryptocurrency investing is a bit like living in the early days of the 1950s gold rush. As we roll into 2021, we will be discussing the digital asset space more, its upsides and its downsides. So Wells Fargo says that Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are not a fad. The traditional banking firm suggests that crypto naysayers are wrong to call it a fad, but stops short of recommending it as an investment. For now, I'm sure they have to fill their bags. It concludes that crypto could become investment worthy one day. I mean, the fact that Wells Fargo is saying this, hugely bullish, guys, hugely bullish. Hugely bullish for Bitcoin as a network in general. Square puts 10 million towards a cleaner Bitcoin ecosystem. So this is the official press release. Square announced its Bitcoin Clean Energy Investment Initiative, where it has committed 10 million to support companies that help drive adoption and efficiency of renewables within the Bitcoin ecosystem. So, great news for Bitcoin's ecosystem and clean energy, and I don't have the exact facts and figures with me right here, but throughout 2020 and going into 2021, we have seen Bitcoin mining shifting from majority China coming in to the United States. So Bitcoin mining is getting better and better. Before we get to Michael Novogratz talking about his perfect portfolio, let's check this out. Shameless name drops Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. Too bad the brief crypto-related conversation was largely nonsensical. They should have asked me to come in and be an advisor for their cryptocurrency talk. A number of TV shows have mentioned Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies over the years, including The Big Bang Theory in 2017, The Simpsons in 2020. One of the latest crypto mentions occurred during the premiere of the 11th season of Shameless in an episode called This is Chicago. Quote, "It's my crypto," character Dash said, elaborating, "My Bitcoin, it's down 30. I was using it to leverage my Tether and my Ethereum." Another character responded, "I have no idea what you just said." Hey, I'm in crypto. I have little idea what you just said. But Dash continued, "Oil futures gutted my portfolio last spring. So if there's another 2-point drop on my cryptos, I'll have to cover a margin call." I mean, this is exactly like 1994 of the internet days. We are in a crypto gold rush, my friends. Final story of the day is Mike Novogratz went on CNN to evangelize Bitcoin. He says we're going to see every single financial institution forced into this Bitcoin space. Now we're going to skip that because we've heard that before. I want to get to the second half of the interview where Julia starts asking him about specific cryptocurrencies besides Bitcoin. How does Mike Novogratz think about it? This is where I will leave you. Make sure you subscribe to stay tuned for this continued conversation coming up. I mean, we cover it thoroughly. We cover it first. And with that being said, let's hear what the sheeple are hearing. Imagine turning on CNN and hearing this from Michael Novogratz. And tell me if you agree or not. Tell me if you agree.
The second big story is the digitalization of everything, which is happening. And we're at the beginning innings of rebuilding the infrastructure that American and global business will be done on in the future. And that most likely happens on the Ethereum blockchain.
I just showed a chart showing the 12-month moves across XRP, Bitcoin, Ethereum. I mean, you spoke about Ether, the underlying blockchain for Ethereum, the cryptocurrency there. Do you buy the diversification argument, or do you look at these specifically and go, hey, I see this because it's got greatest market share and therefore we're buying it? Are you invested in any of these other digital assets or currencies?
I am. I think so. We have a big shop and have a lot of expertise around the whole space. I think Bitcoin as a store of value is a really safe investment for people. I think Ethereum still has more of a venture flair to it, but it's an investment we like. And then there's a whole space called decentralized finance, or DeFi. Yeah. This is much more for the experts. But I think in 5 or 10 years, really the revolution is going to happen by taking the blockchain and bringing it to finance. And so we're invested in a lot of wonderful, smaller projects. And so I would tell our clients generally, mostly Bitcoin, some Ethereum, and then some in venture. If you're a young crypto maniac, people are trading what they call altcoins all the time. A lot of those won't have a lot of value, and some will have a ton of value.
So, Mike, for someone who's looking at this and going, I get the buzz, I want to get involved, what's your advice? Because when I talk to people about this, I say, look, invest an amount of money that you don't mind going to zero, and then you're at least comfortable with the investment that you're putting in, whether it's 1% of the money that you have to play with here. Would you agree with that idea? Just put some money to work here.
That used to be our story. It was to tell people, hey, put 1 to 2% of your net worth in Bitcoin. Worst that's going to happen, you're going to lose a little bit of it, and the best, you're going to make a whole lot of money. I've changed my tune a little on that, given the stability around Bitcoin. I now think it can be a more significant part of people's portfolio. If I look at the macro space, so I think a new investor could put 5% into Bitcoin. Bitcoin's not going back to zero. This idea that it could go to zero is not right anymore. It could certainly trade back to 14,000. You could lose 30, 40%, but you're not losing 80, 90% of your money. There is too much infrastructure built. There is too much of a community that believes in this as a store of value. And so we'll see volatility come lower. And so I'm pushing people up to 5% allocations.
How much have you got allocated, Mike, out of interest? Are you willing to tell me as a proportion of wealth?
As a proportion of my net worth, my kind of overall crypto exposure is probably 50%.
Wow. Yeah. Good to hear, Mike. Great to have you on, and come back and talk about decentralized finance, because we have to talk about this, because this is ultimate disruption, I think, for financial services, and it's a fascinating sphere. We just have to make it relatively simple for me to understand, quite frankly. Mike, great to chat to you. Thank you. Mike Novogratz, founder and CEO of Galaxy Digital there.